Please confirm whether you can see the presentation.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, good morning all the students. Let's now move on to our second lecture under module 5. In the previous lecture, we have seen about MapReduce and how exactly it works at an anatomic scale by using this a word count example where we take a text, where we take a smaller text file and how it is split into input splits and mapped onto various data nodes in the map phase, and then the output of this map phase, how it is shuffled and sorted in order to give us input to the reduce phase, and finally get the consolidated output where we get the word frequency of the words in the text file. Okay, that entire depiction I have explained you very clearly. And also I have introduced you to the data set of NCDC and how it actually looks like in a domain, in the actual domain, and how we wanted to bring it to a smaller scale and understand how to write MapReduce programs in order to find the maximum air temperature recorded in a year over 100 such years. Okay, for that, we are now going to write MapReduce programs. So we are trying to write a mapper class and a reducer class and then pack them into a job in order to deploy it onto a HDFS cluster to distribute it across various data nodes to perform the task. It is not that one single machine can tackle this entire task because it is very humongous task, very large task. Right? In such cases, one single data node can't perform the processing of the entire climatic center data set. So you have to distribute it to various data nodes, which is done by HDFS cluster in order to perform the processing task much quickly when compared to it being performed by a single machine. So today we are going to deal with Java MapReduce. That is how to write Java map and reduce functions to analyze the NCDC weather data set that we have seen in the last class. Now, having run through how the MapReduce program works, the next step is to express it in the form of code. So we are selecting Java programming language in order to write our MapReduce programs because they have good inbuilt libraries, inbuilt packages which support writing this mapper and reducer classes. So we need three things here when we want to write a Java MapReduce program. So we want a map function in order to perform the map task, and a reduce function to perform the reduce task, and some code to run the job. So in order to pack this map and reduce function into a single job and then hand it over to the HDFS cluster, for that we need to pack it into a job, right? So these are the three things we have to do in order to process any data set by using this HDFS cluster. Now, we have seen in the last class that we have input splits in this way, right? Generally, the raw data set looks like this, but MapReduce framework doesn't accept raw data sets as it is for processing. The level of abstraction is in the form of key value pairs. So everything that is transferred within the MapReduce framework will be in the form of key value pairs. So it has to transform the raw data. Say the raw data you have seen in the NCDC data set looks like this. Now from that data, you have to convert it into key value pair, a key and a value pair, which will be fed as input to the map phase, and map phase works on this key value pairs and again gives output as key value pairs, which is further fed as input to reduce phase. Okay, understand this sequence carefully. The raw data is made into key value pairs, transformed into key value pairs, and given as input to the map phase. Now this map phase, when given the key value pairs, will work on these key value pairs, and further it gives again key value pairs as input to the reduce phase. Now this reduce phase further gives the comprehensive result or consolidated result, which is gathered from all the data nodes that executed on these input splits. that perform some execution on these input splits, right? So this final result will be the consolidated result. Now, in order to transform the raw data into key value pairs, here we are taking it. We are taking the key as the offset and the value as the input split. Now, the input split that has to be processed, right? So what is the offset here? Offset is where that line starts in the file, that data set. We have taken that National Climatic Center data set, right? Now in that data set, where each line starts, that is taken as the offset, and that is taken as key in this case. So the offset in the file of each line is taken as the key, and whichever data exists in that, whatever data exists in that line, that will be taken as the value. Still, we can see that the data is in its crude form itself. Excuse me. Right? So the data is transformed into key value pair, taking the offset and the input split. So you can see the next offset starts from 106 and so on. And as the offset keeps on increasing, as you go towards ending of the file, the offset increases. Now this is how we write a mapper class. If you understand this carefully, it will be very easy task for you to quickly write the mapper and reducer classes for any type of task, not only finding out the air temperature and in which year the maximum air temperature is recorded. Not only for such simple tasks, but for complex tasks also, you will be able to write this Java code if you understand this in and out very carefully, right? So listen carefully. Now, initially, we are importing Java IO packages IO exception, because you're trying to work with inputs and outputs. It may throw some exceptions. So we have to include this class. We have to import this IO exception class in order to handle any such exceptions. And also we have int writable. We have to take int writable and long writable classes. Now, what are these int writable and long writable classes? That belong to IO package of Hadoop that belongs to org Apache. So org.apache.hadoop is a package which has a sub-package IO which has this class int writable and long writable along with text. So these classes are native native Hadoop data types. So you have in Java integer, long integer, and string. You remember? In the same way, Hadoop has int writable analogous to integer, long writable analogous to same as long int, and text same as string. Okay? These are Hadoop data types. Hadoop cannot understand the Java data types as it is. So this uses serialization. Hadoop uses serialization method. Serialization means converting the data types into objects and objects back to data types, right? Boxing and unboxing them. Now in this case, in order to make the Java data types to be understood by Hadoop, we use this int writable and long writable. Now we have here three such classes: int writable same as Java integer type, long writable same as Java long int, and text same as Java string. Okay, so these three lines are very clear to you now. Now we also take this mapper class. org.apache.hadoop map reduce class will have a subclass mapper which we extend in order to write our customized mapper and reducer classes. For reducer, we use reducer class. For map functions, we use this mapper class. Now, we are taking our actual Java class. Our Java class's name here is max temperature mapper. So we are writing a mapper function, and the purpose of writing this mapper function is to find out the maximum temperature from the data set that is given. In order to represent that entire purpose of writing this Java class, we are giving this name, max temperature mapper. Okay, nothing special in this. Now we are using this public class max temperature mapper, and observe this carefully. It is extending the org.apache.hadoop's map reduce class mapper. Okay, so mapper is a super class which has some functions which can be overridden in the subclasses with our intended purpose. So if we have some purpose of writing that mapper class or a reducer class, so that will be enabled by taking the map function of this mapper class. So mapper is a super class. Mapper is a super class. Mapper is a superclass that exists in org.apache.hadoop.mapreduce package, and in this mapper class we have a function called as map. Now this map can be overridden in the extending classes, means in the subclasses that extend the superclass mapper, you will have this map function defined, redefined. You can override this map class, map function. Okay, now we used public class max temperature mapper, which is extending this mapper class, and the template, observe this template carefully. This template is using four types of parameters. This is a generalized template for any mapper class. So in this case, the mapper class is receiving key value pairs and emitting key value pairs, means it is receiving key value pair as input and emitting key value pair as output. So in this case, if you are taking long writable and text, in this case long writable is the key and text is the value. So in this one, this long writable is the key and text is the value that it is taking as input. Now, what does this long writable represent in this present scenario? In the input split that we have taken, long writable will represent this file offset. Okay, so this long writable represents the file offset, and this text that is representing the value in the key value pair, it represents this entire input split. Okay, so this long writable represents the file offset, and the text represents the split from which you have to extract a temperature and the year in which it is recorded. So that is the key and the value pair which is being given as input to the map phase. And once the processing is completed, what should be the output of the map phase? Again, a key value pair. So that key now represents the text value, and the value is represented by int writable. Now, how do you understand this? Now, the output that is given as key value pair, in that case, the key is the year in which the temperature is recorded, and not this one, sorry, it is this one, the year in which the temperature is recorded, and int writable will represent the list of values that are recorded in that particular year. In this case, 111 and 78 are recorded in 1949, and 0, 22 and minus 11, these temperatures are recorded in 1950. Okay, so the first argument in the key value pair, it represents the year, and the second one represents the list of 8 temperatures that are recorded. So we are here, right? So this key is the offset. This text value is the input split. Not here. Here, the key is the text file offset. The text is the input split, and this key value pair emitted as output by the map phase. It may contain again the text, that is the year, and int writable, the list of temperatures that is recorded. Okay, so this indicates, this generalized template of the mapper class indicates that it takes key value pair as input and emits key value pair as output. Right, now go to the next line. Private static final int missing equal to some random number. Why we have taken this? If a meteorological measurement like air temperature or humidity or sky ceiling height or visibility distance, if any of these measurements are not recorded properly, then the quality code will be 9999. If it is recorded properly, if the measurements are recorded carefully, then if the measurements are captured appropriately, then the quality code of that measurement, we have understood that it will be indicated by 1. But if it is not captured properly, then it will be indicated by the quality code 9999. So in order to indicate that if any value is missing, we need to compare it with some random number like 9999. So we are giving it as a static final constant. In order to make it as a constant, missing value, in order to compare any erroneous value or missing value with this number, we have constantly defined this static final int missing constant with this value. Okay, that is why we have given it as static. Static means we can't change it any further. Now we have given an annotation here which indicates that the map function we are using here is being overridden. The map function which is already declared in the mapper class, in the mapper superclass, the map function which is already declared in the mapper superclass is now being overridden in the subclass that extended this mapper class. I'm repeating this once again. You have extended the mapper class here into this customized class max temperature mapper. Right? Now, when you are extending into this subclass, the map function of the mapper class has to be overridden in order to customize the code according to your requirements. For that, we are overriding. To indicate what we are doing with this map function, we have added some documentation kind of thing with this annotation. That is by using override. Now, using this map function, what kind of input it takes, what kind of parameters it takes. Now, this map function takes a key and a value. Right? You know that any map function works on key value pairs. So now it is taking a key and a value. Now what is the data type of the key? It is long writable. Why do you take long writable? Because it is trying to represent the file's offset. And offset for larger files, it may be larger terms. That is why instead of taking the small int writable, we are taking long writable. Means instead of taking a normal integer, we are taking long integer so that it can represent larger values of the file offset. Okay, so in this case, it represents this value. The key represents this value. And the value represents this entire value. Okay. So we have taken the key file offset as long writable and value as the text. Value is this entire input split what we have along with the file offset. That is taken as the text type. Text type here is string because this entire text has special characters. It has some random numbers. So we, rather than treating it as a numeric value, better treat it as a text value, extract whatever we wanted and later convert into string according to, later convert it into a numeric value according to our requirements. Okay, so we are taking this text as the data type for the value, and see this. Now this map function will emit key value pairs. I said that this map function will emit output key value pairs which can be taken as input to the reduce phase. Now we would be expecting key value pair as output, but we are using this context variable. What is this context variable? Context is like a box. It is like an encapsulator which will pack the output of key value pair into a single variable called context. Now this context variable is capable of carrying the data between different phases of MapReduce framework. Okay, so rather than passing the key value pair separately to the reduce phase, we are packing the key value pair into a box. See here, the key value pair that is emitted as output to the reduce phase, emitted as output by the map phase, is now packed into a encapsulator called as context. Now this context is now passed on to the reduce phase. Did you understand? Rather than passing the key value pair separately to the reduce phase, we are encapsulating the key value pairs into the context object, and this context object will further pass it as input to the reduce phase. So this helps us, this context object helps us to pass data between different phases of map and reduces. Okay, for that we have taken this context object. Now this function throws IO exception because you're trying to deal with reading the data from a file, and interrupted exception because you're trying to access large amount of files, a huge size of files. In the middle, if some interruption happens, then it throws interrupted exception. So it is always safe to throw these exceptions to be handled by the system automatically. That is why you're throwing here IO exception and interrupted exception. Now, coming to the next line, we are converting the value to string. Initially, see this part. We are sending this entire text as value. Now that value here is being converted to string in order to perform some string operations within the Java code. If you treat it as a general text, you will not be able to extract whatever you are interested in from the text. So within the Java code, it is comfortable to convert a text value into a string value. For that, you're using value.string to string. This toString method will convert this value into a string object. Okay, so you are creating your local string object line, and into this line, you're converting this entire text value into a string and storing it in line. Now, this entire input split is now stored in a line string variable, line string object, so that you can perform all string operations on this line variable. Right? So your line is ready now to be to perform any string operations on it. Now line dot substring, take the substring which is starting from 15 and ending at 19. What do we mean by this? If you know by the domain expert's assistance, you will be able to understand that this is the year in which the air temperature is recorded. Now in this string, it starts at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. After 15th character, the year in which the temperature is recorded is captured. Okay, so in order to take that substring out, you wanted to now extract the substring year from the main string. Okay, for that you are using the substring function, and in this substring function you are starting at the location. It starts at 0th location. Okay, so the year 1950, it starts at 15th character, 16, 17, 18. So up to 19th character you give in the substring to extract this string out. So you take 15 till 19 so that it extracts 15th, 16th, 17th and 18th character, which will give you the year in which the air temperature is recorded. Okay, so the purpose of using substring is to get the substring out of the main string. So in this line string, you're extracting the substring that is starting at 15th character and ending at 18th character. But we can't give 18 because one extra we have to give. We are giving the substring character value as 19. Now that substring value, what you have extracted, is being stored in year string object. Okay, now in year what do you have? 1950, or in the later stages other years that in which the air temperature is recorded, say 1949, that data will be taken into year. Now also declare one variable for taking the air temperature. Now while capturing the air temperature separately from the main string, you have to take some extra precautions, like whether it is a genuine temperature that is recorded and whether it is a positive air temperature or a negative air temperature. In order to perform these tasks, you have to write some extra code. So once you take this air temperature, once you declare this air temperature variable, now start extracting that air temperature from the input split, that is from this entire input split. Where is the air temperature actually available? At this location, in which only the bolded value is the air temperature and this one represents the quality code. The quality code indicates whether it is properly captured or not. Here the quality code is 1, indicating that it is a genuine value that is captured. If it is followed by any number like 9999, then we can say that the value is missing or that the value is erroneously captured. Now we are taking here from the line, from the input split, the character at 87. The character at 87 indicates this one. The character at 87th location, if it is equal to plus. Now in that case, integer parseInt, convert it into an integer. Whatever is being extracted as the substring, convert it into integer. You know that line is a substring. Now from the substring, from the line, you are extracting the substring which is starting at 88 till 92. Means here it is starting at 88th location, this 0, 88th location till 92, means till 91 location, 88, 89, 90, 91. Okay, till that location you are assuming it as the air temperature that is recorded. So that you are trying to extract, but it is extracted from a string. So the substring is also of the type string. Now that string has to be converted to a numeric value, because you have to convert the, you have to find out the maximum air temperature that is recorded in a particular year. Now, if you want to find the maximum of the air temperatures that are recorded, you have to treat it as a numeric value. In order to convert that into a numeric value, first capture the string which indicates the air temperature, then convert it into integer by using the wrapper class integer. Integer dot parseInt will convert the air temperature that is captured as a string into numeric value and stores it in the air temperature. Got it? Else means if the encountered character at 87th location is not plus, then you have to capture the temperature right from 87th location itself. Because if it is a positive air temperature, you need not indicate the sign. But if it is negative air temperature, sign plays an important role. Negative air temperatures will show the drop in the air temperature. Negative air temperatures indicate that the temperatures are very, very low in specific locations, right? In order to indicate that, we are capturing the air temperature right from 87th location, 87th character location if it is not plus. Okay, so you're taking the substring from 87th location till 92nd location and again converting it into integer value by using integer %, means you're converting it into a numerical value and storing it in the air temperature, right? This part of the code will help you to extract the air temperature from the input split and convert it into numeric value and store it in the variable air temperature. Now you have the year value ready as a string variable and you have the air temperature also captured from the raw data. Now you can see the improvement. The key value pair that is given to the map phase is in this form. Now by the end of the map phase, what progress did you obtain? You are able to achieve now a proper year in which the air temperature is recorded and the air temperature that is recorded in the year. Okay, that you achieved by writing this meaningful Java code. Now we are also checking for the quality code in the next stage. Now you have created a string value, quality, and you are comparing it with the substring that is extracted at the 92nd location. So what is existing in the 92nd location? This one. This character, which indicates the quality code. Now, when you take that substring from the main string, that quality code, you are storing it in quality object, which is of string type. Now, see what you're doing with the quality code and the air temperature. Now, if air temperature is not equal to missing, means you have already given the constant value to missing as 9999. So if the air temperature is not missing, if it is recorded and it is properly recorded by comparing it with the quality code. How do you check whether it is properly recorded? You match it with the pattern here. The quality code that is extracted from the string, if it matches with any of 0, 1, 4, 5 or 9, then it is a proper capturing of the meteorological measurement. But other than this, if you have any trailing value after the air temperature, it indicates that it is an erroneous value. So this depends on the domain expert's indication. They may tell the quality codes may be captured with these digits. Other than these digits, if you find any other digit, then it is an erroneous capture of the measurement, air temperature that is captured. Okay, so here these are all the quality codes that indicate that the temperature is properly captured. Now we are trying to compare the quality code with all these, with any of these digits, and if it matches and if the air temperature is not missing, you have your key and the value in place. So what is your next task? You have to pack it into the context object to enable it to be transferred to the reduce phase. So you're taking the context object and using the write method of context class, context.write. What are you writing? You are now writing the year. See here, this part of the screen. You are writing the year and the air temperatures that are recorded in that year. So to indicate the year, you are creating a new instance of the text method, a text class, and handing over the year to it. So you are creating a new instance of text class. And what does this object take now? It will take the year. And this is your key now. And what is the value that you are transferring? You are taking the new instance of int writable. Int writable means integer in Hadoop. integer in Java is analogous to int writable in Hadoop. So what are the A temperature values represented by? They are represented by numeric values, means integers. In order to mention that, we are using you're creating a new instance of int writable, and for which value you are taking, from which value you are taking that? From the A temperature. So you take new instance of int writable and packing the A temperature into that int writable object. So what does your context object now have? Your context object now has a key and a value pair. Now the key here is the year, and the value that is packed is the list of A temperatures. The list of A temperatures that are recorded in that year. Okay, so this context object now has the output key value pair, which can be transferred to the reducer phase. Now how to write a reducer class. Again, the same format what we have followed in the mapper class, same format we can follow in the reducer class also. So you're getting the IO exception class from Java IO package, and you are also using the int writable and text classes and importing the reducer class also, because this reducer class has to be extended so that you can override the reduce method of the reducer class. Same as you have a map function in a mappers class, you have a reduce function in a reducer class also. So in order to write your customized code in this reduce function, you are trying to override the reduce method of the superclass reducer. Got it? What I'm trying to tell. In the mapper class, you have a map function which is overridden in your mapper class according to your purpose. In the same way, you have a reduce method in the reducer superclass which you extend and override it in your subclass. Got it? So you are taking the reducer class which is existing in the org.apache.hadoop.mapreduce package. Right? So once you import this reducer class, we can extend this in our Java class. So you are now writing a new mapper class which is called as your, you're writing your new reducer class which is called as your max temperature reducer. Now your class name is max temperature reducer. Why are you using max temperature? The purpose of writing this entire MapReduce program is to find out the maximum temperature recorded in each year. Now, to indicate that purpose, you are giving max temperature, but it is performing a reduce function. So you are writing a reducer class. Now it is extending the reducer superclass, which is available in this package. And what is the generalized template for it again? Again, a key value pair. A key value pair which is taken as input and a key value pair which is emitted as output. Right? Now it is easy to understand. A key value pair is being taken as input by the reduce phase, and a key value pair is emitted as output by the reduce phase also, same as in the map task phase. Now we are overriding the reduce function that is available in the reducer class. Now what is our purpose here? To find out the maximum A temperature out of all the temperatures that are recorded. So in the previous case, what is the input that we are getting? The year and the list of A temperatures that are recorded in that year. Now from that, you are trying to find out the maximum A temperature. For that functionality, we are writing this entire Java code in the reduce phase. Okay, so we are taking the, we are overriding the reduce method and see what values it takes as arguments. Again, it takes a key value pair. Okay, so what is the key that is taking here? The year value. And what is the iterable, iterable it is taking? Why we are taking as iterable instead of directly iterable? Because we are trying to work here with a list of values rather than a single air temperature. We are not going to work with a single air temperature. We are going to work with list of air temperatures. In order to iterate through the list of air temperatures, we are using this iterable type. So we are taking iterable, iterable for the values of air temperatures that are being passed as input to this reduce phase. Got it? So the key indicates the year and the values indicates the iterable list of air temperatures that are recorded in the map phase, that are generated in the map phase. And finally, you should also declare context object, because the maximum air temperature that is recorded in a year, that has to be packed into the context object and further passed on to the client as a result. Now, the key value pairs will not be passed separately, but they are packed into an context object and then passed, so that the consolidation task of the final result will be easier for the reduce phase. Okay, so we are taking this context object, and as usual, we are trying to make the system handle the IO exception and interrupted exception by throwing them. Now, what is our next step? We have to find out the maximum value that is recorded, the air temperature, maximum air temperature that is recorded. So we are creating a variable, we are declaring a variable max value and assigning it the most minimum value that is possible. The min value of integer class, it may be around -2 power -19. The scale of 2 power -19. That minimum value we are assigning to the maximum value, because we don't know the global air temperatures that are recorded. In some cases, very low temperatures may be recorded. So for safety, we are just taking the minimum value available in integer, and that value we are assigning to the max value as the beginning step. Hereafter, whenever the max value encounters a bigger value, that will become the maximum value so far. Got it? So initially it is given a lowest value possible. Now, in the next step, you have to iterate through this list of air temperatures to find out the maximum air temperature. So you're using for each loop. You know how to use for each loop, right? For taking each value from the values, list of values. From the list of values that are passed by the map phase to the reduce phase, you are extracting one after the other in sequence of iterations. Okay, so in the first iteration, the first value will be taken. In the second iteration, the second value will be considered, and so on. Right? So each value is taken into the value, and this value is again of integer type. In Hadoop, it is int-writable. Okay, so for each of the values from the list of air temperatures, you are comparing it with the maximum value. How you are comparing? By using the max function that belongs to the math class. So from the math class, you are using the max function in order to compare the max value with the value that is extracted from the list of air temperatures. So value dot get, you will get in that iteration that particular air temperature, compare it with the maximum value. If it is maximum, means if this extracted air temperature is greater than the maximum value, then make that air temperature as the maximum value encountered so far. Okay, now again in the next iteration, next value in the air temperature. Again in the next iteration, next value in the air temperature list. In each iteration, each value available in the air temperature list is taken, and whenever a maximum value is encountered, that will be taken as the maximum value of air temperature encountered so far. So by the end of this for each loop, what will happen? you will be able to get the maximum air temperature that is recorded into this max value variable. Right. Now you have the year already in your hand. Now you are able to find out the maximum temperature recorded in that particular year. So that is the purpose of your reducer class. So that you are trying to pack into a context object and pass further. For that, what you're doing, you're taking the context object and using the right method and taking the key. What is the key that is passed to the reduce phase? The year in which the air temperature is recorded. And you are creating a new instance of int writable to take the maximum value also. Means this is the air temperature, maximum air temperature that is recorded in that particular year, which is obtained by this for each loop. Okay, so by the end, you will have a key value pair, the key indicating the year and the value indicating the maximum air temperature recorded in that particular year, both packed into a context object by using the right method. So this is how you write your reducer class. Now, your next step is to pack it into a job. It's very easy task. Once you write your mapper class and your reducer class, your next step is to pack it into a job so that this job can be handed over to a HDFS cluster in order to execute the job, means in order to perform the processing task and find out the maximum air temperature recorded in each year over 100 years. Okay, the NCDC data set that we have contains the meteorological measurements of 100 years, which are captured, has various meteorological measurements captured by various sensors that are deployed at different locations in US. Okay, so that will give you the maximum temperature that is recorded in each year over 100 years. Now, how to pack it into a map job? You have your mapper class ready. You have your reducer class ready. So your next step is to pack it into a job and give it to the HDFS cluster. So for this case, first you have to get the path. You have to import the path object, path class in order to write your results to a standard file. Now, when you get the results out of map and reduce phase, that results have to be written somewhere in order to make the client read it. For that, you have to access a file. In order to access a file, you need a path. For that, you are importing this path object. Remember, map phase and the reduces phases intermediate key value pairs will not be saved in any file. But the output of the reduce phase have to be saved somewhere, because the client is interested in the final consolidated output. For that case, you are taking this path object, which is belonging to the file system package, which belongs to org.apache.hadoop. So you're importing org.apache.hadoop.filesystem.path. Again, you're using int writable in order to read the key and values. Int writable and text data types you're taking in order to read the key value pairs. And also you're taking the map reduce classes job class. So in org.apache.hadoop.mapreduce, in org.apache.hadoop.mapreduce package, so far you have used a mapper class to write the map function. You have used a reducer class to write the reduce function. Now we are using a job class to pack it into a job. Okay, so this org.apache.hadoop.mapreduce package has 3 important classes which serve our purpose: mapper class, reducer class, and job class. Okay, so that job class you are importing here. And in the next line, you are taking lib.input.fileInput format and lib.output.fileOutput format from the map reduce package again. These files will help us to perform file read and write operations to the map after the map reduce is completed. After the map reduce job execution is done, then we have to perform some file reads and writes, in order to see the result of the map reduce, in order to make the client see the results of the map reduce task. For that, you are using this file input format and file output format. Now, this is your main class, which has your main function. In the previous cases, mapper class has only map function, reducer class has only reduce function. Now, in this case, this is your main max temperature class, which includes the main function. Means in order to execute this job, you have to instantiate the object of this max temperature class only, because it includes the main function. Now, in order to create the job, you have to do that in the main class, main function. So you take public static void main, which takes the argument string vector, and at the same time you're trying to handle the exceptions thrown by it. Now, it is taking here two command line arguments. These two command line arguments will indicate what should be the input path of the file and what should be the output path of the file. Input path is to read the data from, and output path is to write the data to the file. Okay, so all the map reduce tasks output, reduce task output have to be written to some file which can be read by the client. In order to enable that, we have to give the file to which the data has to be written and the file from which the data can be read. Okay, for that you are giving two command line arguments. And if they are not according to the format, then you can just try to handle it by using system error method. System error dot println. If at all the passed command line arguments are not equal to 2, it indicates that you are not supplying enough number of files to input the data and read the data from. So if you're not supplying enough number of files to the map reduce job, it doesn't understand where to write the output to which file that output has to be written. So in order to enable that, we are passing a file to write the data to and a file to read the data from. Okay, so for that we are comparing it with the command line argument 2. If the number of arguments passed is not equal to 2, then indicate it with the system error dot println that usage of this execution of this class should be like this. Max temperature, when you're running this class max temperature, it should be followed by an input path of the file and an output path of the file. Okay, so this message prompts the user to give the command line arguments in a proper format, and after that exit, because the appropriate number of files are not passed for this map reduce job. It is better to exit this execution and re-execute this again. For that we are giving system.exit -1. Now, if the number of arguments passed are enough, if the number of command line arguments passed are appropriate, then you can do the actual job, right? So how to start packing these mapper and reducer classes into a job? You create a job instance first by using the job class. This is the job class. This is the job object, which you are creating as new instance of the job class. Now, in this job class, you are invoking set jar by class method. Job dot set Java archive file by class, by using which class? This max temperature class itself. So you are creating a jar file in order to create a class file to transport it onto various nodes on HDFS cluster, right? So you are taking job object, and using the job object, you are invoking this method set jar by class by creating the class file of this max temperature Java class. Got it? Now this jar file, why can't you directly use the Java code itself? Why you're converting it into a dot class file? Converting a Java program into a dot class file will enable you to transport it easily onto various nodes in the cluster. For that, you're converting this max temperature dot Java class file into max temperature dot class file, and you're further converting it into a Java archive file. For that, you're using set jar by class. Now, once it is set, again you have to invoke set job name, because multiple jobs, multiple processing tasks, multiple analysis tasks are running on HDFS cluster. You will find it difficult to monitor the progress of the jobs without having a unique identifier to it. And that identifier should be meaningful to indicate the purpose of running that MapReduce task. For that, we should give it a meaningful name, and that can be given by using set job name. Set job name max temperature. So for this job, you're setting it a name, max temperature, indicating the purpose of executing this job. That is finding the max temperature that is recorded in every year over 100 years. Okay, that also is packed into job object. Means you're packing an archive file and you're packing a name for that job into this job object. Now, what is your next step? Now you have to give the input path from where the entire data have to be read in order to process the data. And once the processing is complete, to which file it has to be written in order to save the results safely after the MapReduce task. Okay, so this first line indicates the input path from which the data has to be read for processing. Means the NCDC data sets path. That raw file path has to be given. How is it given? File input format dot add input path from where the data has to be read. So create a new path to that, which is indicated as the command line argument 1. So what is indicated in the command line argument 1 here? The input path. So create a new instance to that file and hand it over to the job. Okay, now the job will know from which file the data has to be read for processing. Okay, now what is your next step? The job should also know to which file the data has to be written. So it is taking file output format, set output path. Now the job is handed over the output path of the file to which the results have to be written. So that is indicated by this output path. Okay, create a new instance to the output path of the file, which is passed as command line argument 1. Okay, that is passed here. And that path is again handed over to the job. Now the job has an archive file. The job has a name to identify it in these 2 lines. And the job has an input file from which the data has to be read for processing. And the job has an output file to which the results have to be written. Now your next step is to set the mapper class and set the reducer class. So job.setMapper class will set the mapper class into the job. So how do you do that? By handing over the max temperature mapper dot class file to it. So this we have created here, right? This is our max temperature mapper class. That max temperature mapper dot class file is set as the mapper class for this particular job. So it executes the map task according to the code written in that mapper class. Again, in the same way, we give the reducer class. Max temperature reducer dot class file, we are handing over to the reducer class and packing it into the job. Now the job object has an archive file, a job name, input file path, output file path, the mapper class, and the reducer class. And finally, the job should also get the output key class. In what way the output should exist? In what way the output should be transformed into by the job? That has to be indicated. I'll finish in one more minute. Yeah. So in the job, as a final step, you are indicating the key value pair type in which the output has to be emitted. So the key value is the year. So you take the text dot class, you take an instance of the text class and set it as output key class, and set output value class as int_writable dot class. So you're creating a string object and you're creating an integer object. String object to accommodate the key value, that is the year, and value of integer object to accommodate for the value, that is the maximum air temperature recorded in that year. Okay, that both of them are also packed into the job. Okay, now the job has all the information available along with the format of the output that has to be emitted. Now your final step is to execute the job. So how do you invoke the job? By using job.waitForCompletion. Job.waitForCompletion will invoke the job, and as long as it is true, means as long as the job is running, then it gives 0. If the job is completed, it gives 1. Now, when it gives 1, system.exit1 will indicate the exit of the entire job. Okay, as long as the job is executing, it gives 0. Once the job completed execution, it gives 1. System.exit1 indicates that the job is complete and the program execution is terminated. This is how a MapReduce job can be packed. In the next coming class, we'll see how to scale out onto a larger HDFS cluster and how to use combiner functions to optimize the MapReduce framework. Any doubts in the students? What we have discussed? Okay, let me quickly take the attendance. Number 1.
Yes, ma'am.
Or I'll stop the recording and take the attendance. 1 second. Okay, see you in the next.